almost Bodo Glimt.
Almost.
They're playing tonight. Interesting game.
1-1.
Is that your prediction? Yeah? Or is that your bet?
No, it's going to be 1-1. I can't place bets on PSV.
No, you can't. No, it's true. Okay, Joop, it's good to have you again.
Thank you.
It's been, it was episode 17 or something. Or
Yeah,
or
around that with Ido.
Yeah. With Ido, yeah, it was a great conversation.
Cool.
And it was actually the first English version of our podcast.
It was?
Yeah.
Cool.
And because it's the oldest one, but also because it's a good one, it's still one of the best listened.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Because I think, well, that's my assumption, that everybody, anytime somebody discovers the podcast, they go to the list, and you are the first, or you are in the first episode, so people probably will hear you for the second time.
I'll think if there was no end time, we were still talking.
It's
It
unbelievable.
was so interesting.
Yeah. Ido was a great guest. Yeah, and well, when we prepared this session, we said, okay, what's going to be the angle? And it maybe kind of relates to the first podcast or the first to Ido as well. But you said, okay, let's talk about, let's say, the 5 pillars of the academy of PSV, and specifically dedication. That's maybe something to start with. And it's why, okay, we realize that a lot of coaches, because talking about also players, need a lot of dedication to finally get there, and in your case, become a professional coach without having been a professional player. So let's start there.
Yeah, I think everybody has a sort of pathway, and mine was quite sure when I was really young that I was not able to have a professional career as a football player. So I made a decision at I think I was 14 or 15 years old. And of course, everybody starts with grassroots football, amateur football at that level. So it's now, I'm 36 at the moment, so it cost me 22 years to become a professional coach at PSV at the moment. So if you compare that with coaches at PSV, for example, they are 3 years at PSV and they are used to everything that's at PSV because it's so professional. And is that your start of your career, that's everything that you have, that I had after 22 years.
Yeah.
So if you talk about dedication, it's different for anyone. But if you compare it to me, I come from a small village with a lot of farmers, and they want to work hard. So I grew up in the village, and I was not from there originally. So everybody asked me questions: "Who are you?" Because we don't know you and we don't know your family. So then you prove yourself. You have to convince people. And I was 5-6 years old at that moment. So that my pathway is from my past, because that's dedication is one of the things. I have to convince everybody the last 22 years, maybe before that, to prove myself as a person, but also as a coach.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I like dedication.
Yeah. Look, before we move on, I'm going to add one question. Maybe you can do it as well, because I think it looks just a little bit better on the camera.
We look stupid, but with this.
No. Okay, sorry about that. But I should have done it before we started. No, but well, I don't know if I can relate. I come from a village from 500 people.
Okay.
From Friesland. And a lot of my friends still live there, and the life is pretty almost, I won't say easy, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I looked going to study in Groningen and then moved to Amsterdam, blah blah blah. And it's also you push your boundaries every time you take another step, and I think you did the same. You push your boundaries first to the local club, then to VVV, and then you also, I think, but this is my assumption, that you learn that it works. So if you push, something happens.
Yeah, if I push, but also I think that environment was really good for me, because if you see me, I for me it's really hard to be in a crowded places.
Okay.
So it was really good to have a quiet environment in a small village where everybody is equal, everybody stay normal, stay as you are. So I think that environment was really good for me. And so then you have to push yourself, and it's not easy to convince, because if you are a little bit stubborn like I am, you're a little bit cheeky, and cheekiness in a safe environment is really easy to develop. and it's even harder if you live in Amsterdam or a big city like Eindhoven. So I think that environment was really cool, and then it was easy for me to push myself and to convince people, and that helped me to be not a shy guy in a crowded place, but to show myself as who I am. And so that I think that pathway was a really good start for me to be there in a small village instead of being in a big city. Yeah. Otherwise, I think I haven't developed myself as a person.
Yeah, understand. And then to connect it to dedication, what does it mean from, let's say, a local guy to become a coach and develop? Well, I know your story a little bit, but what was an average week for you? Let's say when you're 19, 20, 22.
Yeah, I went to, I live in a really small village, so I went to a bigger village next to me with the JFC Kijk was the club.
Yeah, which is pretty decent amateur club.
It was, because they played, it was an amateur club, but we played pro level. So I came there when I was 19 years old, and I was under 13 assistant coach in my first year. And after a few months, they promoted me to be the head coach over there. And then my weeks, I worked in a local bar. I worked with how can I say? I worked with trees, sort of nursery of trees.
Okay.
And then I started working with the FA, the Dutch Football Association, when I was around 21, but I had no education. So they said to me, "Well, maybe you talk really easy. You have philosophy of football. Maybe
no education because you stopped school."
Yeah, I quit school because I did in the retail. And if you want to have a combination retail with football,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work because you have to work in the evening and the weekends. That was the time I want to be on the pitch to coach games or train some sessions. So I quit school when I was 16, 17 because I did. If you looked at my youth, I was in the bar, I was in the clubs, I was in restaurants. I always with people.
Yeah. Because
I studied the University of Life. So that's really cool for me. But
what did your parents say?
Sorry?
So you're 17, you're coming home, Dad or Mom.
Yeah.
I'm quitting school.
I want to be a professional football coach. What?
Okay. Sit down.
Yeah. But they support me always.
Okay, cool. Because it's an interesting story, by the way. This is not a common choice.
No. That was my pathway. From that start my dedication. So in that weeks, I did everything to go to bars, to restaurants or to clubs. But I also been a football coach. And of course, you have to pay a little bit at home.
Sure.
Because you live there.
Yeah.
You want to do some nice things. You want to send some fancy clothes. So I have to earn a lot of money. So I worked in a bar. I worked in a nursery. I worked on that club for 40 hours maybe. And then, of course, I went out in the weekend. So I didn't sleep many hours in that weeks. But then the FA came. Then I have to be. A normal day was 7 o'clock. Woke up. Then I went to the tree nursery till 3-4 o'clock. Then I have to be to go to the FA to give a course.
Yeah.
Then I went home 11 o'clock. Work in the bar till 3-4 at night.
Yeah.
And then day later 7 o'clock starts over and over again.
Yeah.
And then the weekends, just like I said, have your weekends with football and with my friends.
This is I can definitely say this is dedication.
Yeah.
Dedication literally in this case meant 4 hours sleep, but it was clear that you were organizing your life for those 2 hours a day when you were on the pitch, and everything was kind of focused on that. And I can say that probably you earned the least at those 2 hours. So everything was built around that, but it was not rewarding for money wise. So it was only passion that drove you.
No, so I had a job at the police for 2 years.
Okay.
Because one of the parents of the team when I trained, he had a job for me. And
what did you do?
I was in facilitary.
Okay, yeah, facility. Yeah, okay, sure, facility manager or something.
Sort of facility manager. So I had to help him to arrange everything. So, for example, they found a drugs lab. They called me.
Cleaned up.
And now I have to arrange everything. So I have to call the cleaning. I have to call the some police departments. So I did that for 2 years. That was unreal. And I worked I was cab driver for a year.
Wow!
But all that together, I had so much experience with different persons, with different environments, and I took many experience with me, and that's the reason why I met so much different people in bars and restaurants and in a taxi and police. so that's the University of Life, and I still use it now at PSV because there are also many different people.
Yeah.
The teams that you train, different age groups from 11 till 18, doesn't matter. Parents, doesn't matter, because I've met so many people that you see some similarities between the people that you train, that you coach now, and that people that you met 20 years ago in a restaurant, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, a lot of people, if you take the normal pathway and you go to school and you go to another school and you go to another school and then you have your college degree and you get a job that matches that, and you're always into the same type of people.
Yeah.
And you met you've been everywhere. A cab driver at night meets interesting people, and then cleaning a drugs lab the next day is also completely different.
It's like I call the prototype of life. Yeah. Like when you are 6 years old, they ask you what do you want to become when you're older. When you are 12 years old, what do you want to do in school? And then you are 16 years old, and you have your scooter license to drive a scooter. And you're 18, you have your driver's license. Then you are 19 years old, you are single. They ask you a question: why don't you have a girlfriend? When you're 23, you live in a really small apartment. When you go buy a house, when you get married, when you have children,
true.
And then start over and over again. That's sort of prototype life. And I promised myself when I was 14, 15 years old, whole my life, do whatever you want to do, but don't have the prototype life like 99% of all the people in the world.
Cool, very cool. Okay, again, says something about your dedication, but it also says something, I think, about the pathway that people think you have to become something. Well, in this case, you wanted to become a coach. It doesn't matter which kind of school you did or whatever. I heard a story. It was a completely different setting, but there was a company that wanted to hire a head of marketing, and they could hire the guy that went from, let's say, school to university and got his marketing degree, or they could hire the guy that figured out everything in online marketing in his bedroom. He was 44 years old, but he had 5 years experience in teaching himself. So, okay, who are you going to choose? Who is the best for the job? It's very interesting.
It is. And I believe in combinations of both. That's in the end the best. And this was my pathway. And you have so many talented coaches who are a professional football player. That's their pathway. If you have dedication in your school and you're 24, you have so many degrees, and then you start learning and experience, that's your pathway. And if a combination with all those different persons, then you have in my eyes you have the best team. It doesn't matter if it's in football or just on life or just on every job that you have. If you have the same people together, they work against each other. If you have different people, you can learn from each other, and then you have the perfect team that you want to create. So this is my pathway. It worked for me. But it's not the same as yours, for example.
No.
So I don't want to say this is the best pathway that you have to follow to be successful.
Yeah, agree. I'm gonna listen real quick because it seems like I hear something. Do you hear it or not? It's like a floating sound in the back or something. Mitchell, what are you doing? What? Okay. I know what it is. It's the air system on the lighting. I'm pretty sure you won't hear it in the recording. Or maybe we'll cut this out. But
otherwise, we do it again.
Yeah, we'll start over. No. I just wanted to be sure. Okay, so that's dedication for you. Let's say in your early phases. But if you relate it to your job on the pitch, I think you see the same with players. So. Again, my idea, but you have kids wake up at 7, go into the bus to school, are picked up by the bus from PSV, doing their homework maybe here or at school, and they're coming back. Okay, this is a very nutshell, but coming back at 9 in the evening, and they're 12 years old.
Yeah.
So that's dedication. I think you can relate relatively easy.
Yeah, when I because now I'm head of the youth at the youth foundation phase at PSV, and when I came to PSV, they trained 4.5 hours a week. And now we train 10 hours a week. Yeah. So that's dedication and hard work that you need. But also for parents and for your environment, it's also dedication because they have to travel with the boys to every training session. And when we go to so many tournaments abroad, they have to follow their kids as they want to. So there's dedication for all of the family. But and also for the kids when they go to under 13 or under 14, they have to be at school in Eindhoven. They have to travel by themselves. And that's also dedication because it's the first time you go by train to school or to train. So that means something for your ownership. I mean, you become an adult at 12 years old, but it's also dedication. But for the mom or for the dad, it's really hard to set your kid on a train to Eindhoven.
Yeah.
And they are so nervous, or it's going well, they're going to make it on school or going to make it to PSV. So it's dedication. If you teach them young, I believe in teach them young, because we talk about golden years in skills, to teach the skills to the boys. But I think it's the same with the environment and also with the dedication. If you teach them to be adaptable, if you teach them to work hard, it's in a system. And they are so angry after 2.5 hour training session that they have to go to home. They want to train 4 hours a day if you ask them what to do. So don't put limit on training time. Let them train that they want. This is sort of a dedication.
Yeah.
And you have to do it, otherwise you can't make it to the first team, because it's so much dedication till you reach the first team. And for some is 16 years old, it's the first step on the pitch with the first team. For some it's 22.
Yeah.
Totally different pathway, but it's in your system. It's also a sort of talent.
Can you guide it? Can you teach it, or is it something that you have to have?
I think it's both ways. But if you look to environment at home, so the home situation for the kids, I'm alone at home. I don't have any brothers and sisters, but for me it helped. But it also is disadvantages, because it's really hard for me to work with people, because I did everything on my own.
Yeah.
If I made mistakes, I went to my room and I was thinking, and the next day I made a decision. I'm going to do it today on that way to improve it. But I have also a lot of examples, but kids who are alone at home, because they don't have any brothers and sisters, they can't do it by themselves because they're not independent. So they need other people to improve themselves, to develop themselves. So it's the same when I talk. If someone is alone, he's on the streets, he's streetwise, it helps for them. But a lot of people who are on streetwise, and they need a safe environment. So, but dedication is something that you have. It doesn't matter if you're with older people, or if you're alone. If you have the dedication, you want to reach something, and you want people to help you, you ask people to help you. Yeah. If you want to do it on your own, you do it on your own. And you reflect by doing things, and reflect by yourself, and don't sleep and think about what you have to do the better the next day.
But there is, I think, a way, and then we'll move on to the next one, but that you have to, because I think you have a lot of, let's say, answer that are you willing to give everything, and then they're in front of you at a desk, and yeah, of course I'm going to give 100%. I exactly know how this works, but then those kids and parents come into a life where everything is focused around that kid, bringing them 5 times a week. Dad has to leave work early. Mom has to deal with all tired kids and an angry dad or whatever. You cannot. It's not textbook. You have to guide it, I think.
That's the reason why I like ownership. That a kid from 9 years old, they are so smart. If you ask them one question, what do you need to become a better football player? What do you need to help you in your life? They give you clear answers.
Okay.
They are not stupid. They're really smart kids, because they have the talent to be independent, because they find a way at an amateur level to be the best player. And that's the reason why we recruit those players at PSV. Yeah. So they had successful things before they go to PSV. So they are a little bit independent. And you ask them, what do you need to become a better football player? And some asked for their dads or for their moms, because they help them before they go to PSV. But that's also a sort of a talent. But the mistake that we make is that we think that we have to make the pathway for the player, that we have to make we have a book, a developing book, and we as coaches fill in what they want to improve. Yeah. But they can do it by themselves. They are so smart. They need what they have. If they know what they need, we have to guide it. And for one, we have to guide it every day. And for one, we have to ask them a question after 1 week. What have you done the last week? How can I help you in the next week?
Yeah.
So it's the same. It's dedication and ownership is for everyone different. But the mistake that we make, and maybe former pro players make, that they want to educate the kids what they have done in the past, what helped for them, and not what helped for the players. It's the same with me. I live by working hard and for dedication, but not works for everybody.
Yeah.
So I have to convince myself by letting the kid do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So
and maybe we think also that that there is, let's say, an ideal pathway. But if I'm talking to you now, you're not the textbook example, and it got me thinking about Denzel Dumfries, who played here, of course. who came into professional football when he was 19.
Yeah.
But everybody forgets that it was on his wall when he was 14. He was still playing at the local club. And there are players that, okay, the textbook example is you come here at PSV when you're 7 and you end and when you're 25 and then you were sold for 30 million.
Yeah.
But there are also guys that travel throughout Europe and they play everywhere, and now all of a sudden they are not, it's not all of a sudden.
No.
That's what people see, but that is their route. And then they become a top player when they're 28.
Yeah, so Dumfries is a perfect example of adaptability, because he was in every club, he was there for 2 years, and then he made promotion to a bigger club and to a bigger club and to the Dutch national team. So you find a way to be adaptable. Doesn't matter who your teammates are, against who you play and who your coach is, you develop yourself by adaptability. And I think he teaches him young to be independent and adaptable.
Yeah.
And that worked for him at that moment.
Yeah. We were starting with dedication, just to give some clarity. We're going to talk about the super strength, adaptability, ownership, and mentorship. And but we okay, let's find a way. But we already see everything is intertwined.
Yeah.
Everything is connected.
Yeah.
Okay, but we were kind of already moving to adaptability with Denzel here. So let's go there a little bit more. So dedication is pretty clear, at least.
Yeah.
The concept is clear. Doing it is maybe the hardest thing in life. That's a different thing. But being adaptable to any situation, for you as a coach, how did that come out?
It was I went to West Ham, and of course I was adaptable because I had the same pathway like Dumfries, but I was by the club for 4 or 5 years, but it's sort of the same pathway. Of course I was adaptable, otherwise I couldn't make it in that career. But if I was at West Ham with Terry Westerling, he was head of the youth academy, and I was there for 6-7 days, and he asked me a question when I went home. Joop, are you a first team coach or are you a developer?
Yeah.
And I was a first team coach. I want to work with the 16 same players every day, a whole year, and I want to build a team atmosphere to win matches every Saturday. And he said, if you look to the individual pathway of each player, you are a developer, you have to develop the individual instead of the team.
Yeah.
And I went to a session he was also under 23s coach. And I went to a session. It was a really good session with small-sided games. And then one guy was injured. And then the pitch next to the pitch where they trained, was on a 14 was training over there. And it was a big striker, and he had to replace the injured player by the 23s. But there was a difference by 7-8 years.
Yeah.
And I thought, what are I going to do? And then they play a small-sided game, and there was a striker. So the first chance that he took, he shot next to the goal, and everybody was angry because he had to pass the ball.
Okay.
The second time he took a shot on the goalkeeper, and then everybody was unhappy about his performance. But then the third shot, he scored a goal, and he put his finger before his mouth. He said, shh to everybody.
14-year-old.
14 years old. I go, wow, this is really cool. And then the fourth time, he had a first touch on the pass, and there was a tackle from a guy behind him. Pass, it was a really hard tackle. And then he was injured. So then the medical staff came on the pitch, and they drove him away in a car. And that was in 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, what happened?
Yeah.
So he's adaptable.
It is a little bit an extreme situation, to be fair.
It is. But if you talk about adaptability, he's not shy.
Oh, that's true.
He's not shy. He's really stubborn because he tried 3 times and he succeeded by scoring a goal. But then he was so arrogant, and then he got kicked by a guy who wasn't so talented.
I was waiting for that, to be fair.
Ah, cool. But that's so cool. So I went to home with those lessons of that. We have to create adaptable players, and they said is another cool part of that story was he prepared youth players for the first team, and he said to me the first part that they do in a session with the first team is they play a rondo.
Yeah.
Then you have a short passing skill or drill, so you have to prepare them for that moment. So they did so much small-sided games, rondos, passing drills to prepare them for the first 45 minutes. Because if you're adaptable, but you are used to the same things they do in the first team, you're okay. But also as head of youth academy, because if you can't do it well in the first 45 minutes, the head of the youth academy get a call by the first team manager. I don't want this player anymore because they're not technical skills.
True. Yeah. True. Especially at those clubs where it's really separated. So I don't know how it is now, but I can imagine that you had a first team that was top of the mountain,
Yeah.
and then you had a youth academy, and they only looked at it when they needed it, probably.
Yeah, that's true. But that's the reason why you need adaptables. So same with here at PSV. You have the youth academy at the one side and the first team at the other side. And you have to walk 200 meters to train with the first team. And they can't be in a dressing room because they have their own dressing room at the youth academy.
Yeah.
So you have to walk 300 meters to the first team. And you have to wait next to the pitch when they come on the pitch and they can join them on the pitch. So they don't know which players are going to train because they haven't met them before in a dressing room. So you have to be adaptable players to prepare yourself on that moment and to be there in the rondo, to be there in the passing drill, to be the best version. But it's hard if you're a dribbler because you can't dribble because you only have to pass in the first 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I think if you're adaptable, so you had so many chances in your past to create something in your mind to prepare yourself on each moment. So for example, we go to tournaments to win that tournament. So everything is based on win that tournament to create an environment to prepare them in such high level that they have something, they have pain, they want to win. But then you ask the right questions afterwards. What have you done to prepare yourself on that final? I did that, and we won. So you find so many good ways to prepare yourself.
Yeah.
And if you find those good moments and bad moments, and prepare them on everything that can happen, because they're adaptable. And it doesn't matter if you go to the first team, if you go to the national team, if you have to train with 2 or 3 years older, because you find a way to be adaptable at every moment.
Yeah. Well, and there's a clear link to playing and performing in the first team, because as a youth player, at one point you're good enough, you're going to be on the bench probably, and then the coach is okay, come on, do your warm up, and then you're there, 30,000 people. Doesn't matter what kind of game it is. Maybe there's tough tension, whatever. You have to be there straight away. So you can almost say bitch and whine that you have to stand on a gate, but that's the least amount of worries you're going to get later. Yeah.
That's true. But that's the same with this podcast. This is maybe my 16th podcast. And my first, I was really nervous. So now it's quite easy. So because I was in a situation and I was quite adaptable because I did it, no worries. In my first webinar, I watched through a screen and I saw at the top of my screen there were 800 listeners to my webinar. And at the end, after 1.5 hours, there was 250 left. So a lot of members, they quit the webinar like, oh, what have I done? I screwed it. And now 2 years later, it's quite easy. So it's the same with players.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that with this being number 61 or something. So it's definitely completely different than the first time. Yeah. Okay, so adaptability comes from you as a coach, and you recognize that that was an example that you realized, okay, this is really important. Also for you as a coach, because I can imagine. No, it's not. It's not to imagine. It's reality. As a coach, you also have to constantly adapt, because you were talking about the 14-year-old that's moved to the U23s, but it also means at one point a coach sees an injury. Okay, he looks to the left. Oh, the U14s are training. Am I the coach that's going to pick the big player or not? Or when you are the U14 coach, oh, my big player is pulled. How am I going to deal with that?
It's the same.
So that one thing requires adaptability from everybody that's involved. Yeah,
that's the reason why I did it when I went to Venlo, because I worked at VV Venlo at that moment. I was on a 17 coach, but also responsible for the ages below. So I did the same. We played in a stadium at MVV, and a 14-year-old, I replaced him. He came in 20 minutes before the end of the game as a number 10, and I said to him, you have to put a lot of pressure on their defenders. You have to be playable when we have the ball. And after 20 minutes, it was done. He worked so really hard. But then the day later, he went to my office and I said to him, this week you train with the 14s. He said, why? I was with the 17s for a week. No, you're at the 14s. And I watch every session. I watch every game. And if you don't work just as hard you did in the MVV in the stadium last Saturday, we're gonna quit. I'm not gonna help you anymore. You have to train with the 13s. So if you demand everything, and it doesn't matter which age group who helps the kid, you have to be on your best every day.
Yeah.
Then you can't be arrogant if you play with your own group. But it's the same with coaches. That's the reason why I start with Terry Wesley. But the 40s coach was really angry because he wanted to win his game. But for the developing of the player, the striker, was better to play 20 minutes with the 17s than 70 minutes with the 14s, because it was easy for them at that moment. And when it was a session on Monday, he had a motivated kid who was more motivated than the 2 weeks before because he was used to the system of the 14s. It was every day the same. Just get some kids out of the context in a new context where they have to learn, have to deal with new things. That's so good for your developing, but also for the coach because you have to replace someone else. So you put all your attention to the second striker, who normally you don't give attention because he's your second striker, and the first striker has to score goals because then you win games and you drive home with good music because you've won the game. But you haven't put attention to the second striker the whole week. Yeah. So that's also adaptability for the coach.
Yeah, yeah, and then I think the next step in adaptability is that. So first you realize. So at one point, okay, the first guy is pulled, and in the second, let's say the second level striker, you have to play with him. But you become really adaptable when you already plan for both scenarios, in my opinion. So then you know, okay, I can play with one or two, or number one or number two. And it doesn't matter anymore what the scenario is. I have adapted to the situation. It's the same with training sessions. If you plan a session and you know players can be pulled or can be injured, you don't even have to adapt anymore. You are already adaptable because you already have found or written down your solution or whatever.
But it's the same with leadership, for example, because what we do in a foundation phase is a regular week is that a kid trains with 2 or 3 different age groups. Because a good dribbler, they needs resistance and good defenders. But also, if you talk about leadership, if you always follow because you train with a year older than you are, you always follow because you get guided by older players.
Yeah.
But then you are in your own age group and you go to the tournament and you're the captain, you have to lead your team. They struggle with it because they follow for the last 3-4 weeks. So put kids in different situations in different age groups, like leadership or following, but also if you play the center, it's much harder to play the wing. So if you play a 1 year older at the wing, and in your own age group you have to play the center, they struggle because you get used to it after 1 week. Yeah. But if it's every week is different, then you learn and then you develop yourself. But the problem is you have to build an organization around it where everybody thinks the same. Because that's the problem with us as PSV, is that we have so many kids in our foundation phase and we split them on 4 centers. We have so many coaches. There has to be a clear pathway for each coach, but also a clear philosophy, and everybody has to fit in that program. If you want to be a team coach, if you're not adaptable, you want to train with the 14 same players every week, then go someone else. You're not used to the system, then you don't want to work at PSV. So go to another club.
Yeah, okay, very clear. So that requires adaptability for the coaches that work here. You commit to the system, to the methodology.
Yeah, but it's cool. Like, Martin Laat, he is under 14 coach, and last year he won the cup and he won the league with the 14s. And yesterday he was outside with our new under 13s group, our current under 12 groups, and it was the same passion, it was the same organization around his exercises. And the kids, from 12, they think, wow, under 14 coach on the pitch. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. I am assistant coach of the 18s, but I also train the 10s. Yeah. Colin is on a 13 coach, but he trains the 10s and he trains the 18s. Yeah. So this adaptable for the coaches, but for their developing, it's so good to train so many different ages and also different persons. Yeah. And that's really cool.
Okay. Put your ego aside, I think.
Yeah, but sometimes it helps you because at your own age group, where you're
You're
expert. Like Colin is expert with the 13s, but we stretch him with the 18s, and he find structure to work with the 18s, and he found relationship to help them, and it helps him to be a better 13s coach. But that's his comfort zone. Yeah. And but the 10s, you have to find sort of connection with the kid from 10. Otherwise, you can't learn. Yeah. And that's so much different than a more adult player like a 13 is.
True. Okay. I think there's a nice connection because with the mentorship, because a couple sentences back you were like, okay, kids are in a leading position or in a following position, but you're also putting players. Well, is it a leading position or is it a mentor position where they guide other players, right?
Yeah, you teach the most by telling everybody how do you do it, how you do it,
how do you do it, how you do it. Yeah.
Sorry.
So explaining is the best way to learn.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So you experience it by your own. You watch with me, for example, like Tim. He's an under 18 player. He plays and he trained the first team for a week. And I have some individual sessions with him where we watch to his clips and to his game, and I show him some improvements. And okay, it helps him a little bit. But when he guides on a 13 kid, Sven at this moment, and he had 2 sessions with the same television, with the same game. So Sven watched sessions of Tim with the 18s, and he gave him advice. But also Tim gave advice to the questions of Sven when he asked him about his game.
Cool. So they're literally in a room together, watching a screen and watching either side's game.
Yeah, and the full-time analyst of the 18s, he was also there, Rick.
Yeah.
And he guides it always, and he said to me, "Wow, the guys from 12 years old are maybe smaller than some kids of the 18s, and that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's the same with like Amir of the 18s. He's a dribbler, so we connect him with Sayed from the 12s. He's also a dribbler, and they help each other by playing 1v1 indoor or 1v1 outside.
Yeah.
So they don't talk; they just play 1v1. And if you compare it with Sven and Tim, they're talking and they have discussions. They can talk
completely
for 1 hour about
types.
football. That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, there are so many connections there if you start thinking about it, because now when they walk past each other in the hallway, there's a connection.
Yeah.
When the oldest one is getting his debut in the first team, there's a connection. Maybe in 5 years, the younger one also is in the first team, and he's already there.
That's cool.
So there's already a connection there. So there are 1,000 ways that this is beneficial.
And in my way, that's the atmosphere that you need in the club. And in my previous clubs like Venlo and like Kuik and in my home village, it was also cozy after games, because everybody watching to each other, because you know each other.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be the same things at PSV. If you train every team in the youth academy, it's on Saturday and we play 2:30, I'd be there at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Not so many sessions, but now you see under 18 players, they are there 11 o'clock to watch some
To watch the kids that they mentor, or to watch the games.
But so it's the same with coaches, because the 18th coach watch the game of the 10th.
Yeah.
And then after the game of the 12th, they stay because they want to see the stars in the 18s.
Yeah.
So then you build an atmosphere in a club that you want, because a familiar club. But now you have the same with the players that come from Amsterdam to Rotterdam to Utrecht to Germany to Belgium, but you have one connection, that's PSV, because they know each other by mentoring. It's the same with coaches, like colonies with the 18s, with the 30s, but also with the 10s. So everybody knows him. So that's really cool in an environment what we want to create as PSV.
Yeah. Well, and that's also something that PSV stands for, I think.
Yeah, but it's really hard because we have so much players around Holland that have different backgrounds and different pathways.
Yeah.
So they don't have a connection with Eindhoven. They have a connection with Amsterdam or Rotterdam or Belgium or Germany. But it's not I think the people made the DNA, not the club.
Yeah, but you do you create a culture in the way that you work with each other that creates an atmosphere that works.
Yeah.
So that you can literally influence it by, if you don't do the mentorship, there's less connection.
But it's based on people.
Yeah.
If the 6 people leave PSV and there come 6 new people, then you have a new environment, a new DNA, because it depends on people. Of course, it depends on the club, but to be honest, it's not PSV. But if you say, for example, we have a safe environment, and you tell everybody, I tell PSV is a safe environment, but I don't have to say it because we own it.
Yeah.
And how more you say it, you don't believe in it.
Yeah, true.
Why do you have to say it then?
Yeah.
So if you say we are family club, every time I say it to you, we are not.
Yeah.
So when you come to PSV, you feel it because in our DNA, and that depends on people.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, I do feel it every time I'm here, so that's cool. Positive.
That's the reason why we keep coming.
Yeah. And I get to sit in the studio, which is also fun.
You can eat after the session.
Yeah. Well, Mitchell arranged me lunch, so yeah. Okay. Next one I think is going to ownership, and then we'll go to the last one, which is the super strength. You mentioned already, so being owner of your own process, but you can use it in, I think, almost any aspect. But why is ownership so important, and what do you mean with it?
Yeah, if I look to myself, if I was 14 years old and I want to be a pro coach, and I promised myself, like my ownership, before my 30th, I want to be UEFA A course, and I want to have full-time in football. So my pathway was for 16 years, which was quite long at that moment.
It's pretty cool that you know what you want to be at 16. A lot of kids don't know, but
no,
still.
But if I don't make it to before my 30th birthday, I go out. I go work in a bar forever, and then I will find out what happens. But it's the same with Olympic Games. If you walk 100 meters, you have one point. You have to be 9.72 seconds. So you work 4 years.
Yeah, true.
for 9.60 of 72 seconds. So then you find things that you need in those 4 years to be successful. You find a golden medal. But I did the same. So I thought by myself, if I'm not a pro player, I have no. That moment was really hard to become a UEFA A. Now it's quite easier, but that was really hard because, well, I think 18 players of 18 places a year.
Yeah.
So then I find a way. Okay, I need to work with the Dutch FA because otherwise they don't.
That helps.
Yeah, that helps. Otherwise I can't be on a course. So that's the reason why I trained girls from 12 years old when I was 22, and everybody was laughing at me. Why do you train girls at 12 years
well, like a regional plan or something?
Yeah, regional plan of the Dutch FA. But I did it, and I loved it, and I did the same like I always did. And then they promote me to instructor, then promote me to everything. And there was one point that they said to me, because there's districts in Holland, as you know, and there was a place available to go to England, to the English FA, with really important people of the Dutch FA, and I went by South 2. So I was with another guy. So we went to. And he said to me, "Do you have a suit?" I don't have a suit because I work in a bar. I don't have a suit. So I bought a suit, really cheap suit, and I put it on, and a suitcase with me, small because the thing is hand luggage. So and then I came, and I saw all the people in fancy clothes and high class, and I thought, what I'm going to do. But then they asked me some questions. What do you do? So I was really enthusiastic. I was telling about everything what I did as the FA. And then we went to the plane. And of course, afterwards I had to bring a big suitcase. But I thought, hand luggage. Everybody was fancy. So I went aside, and there was a woman went in the plane. What do you want to drink? And he had €2 in my pocket. So I said, how much is the cup of coffee? Okay, 1 cup of coffee. And the guy next to me, he ordered pineapple juice, breakfast, the croissants, champagne. And he was a colleague from the Dutch FA. He said, okay, take one. So we don't have to pay for it, because I was so stupid. I thought I have to pay for it when I go on holiday. So then we had a good conversation, and about 2 hours. And then he asked me a question, or I asked him one question: what do you do with the Dutch FA? And he said, I'm head of the education program at the Dutch FA. I thought, wow. But it was a really good start with a connection. Yeah. And then
who was it?
Ton is his name. He's not at the Dutch FA anymore.
Okay.
Ton, and so then we went to that congress, Dutch FA. It was 3 or 4 days, and I helped him to make a presentation at the final day. So I helped with him, but we sat in a bar till 4 o'clock in the morning with a Scottish FA. But I was teach to drink a lot of beer. So there was what I did in my past was really, at that moment, it was really good for me. So we stayed until 4:30, and we make the presentations. And then I signed myself for that UEFA A course. And okay, you can come on a conversation. And I went to the Dutch FA, and there was a line by a lot of applicants that wanted to be in that course. Sure. And I was in the same suit. I was with my magnet board, a huge magnet board on my back, and I went inside. I was really nervous. And then I came inside, and Ton, the same guy, he was in the corridor, and said to me, "Hey, yo, welcome, come." And I have to be, 2 o'clock was my conversation. I was at 12 o'clock to be right on time. And I was early on my conversation at all the guys that were waiting in the queue for that moment. And then we sat on a cup of coffee, and he said to me, "You will help me on that week, and I'll help you." We skipped the conversation, we skipped the meeting. I let you through on that Dutch course, or the UEFA A course. So the prediction when I was 14 years old, you have to work with Dutch FA to be on that course. When I was 25, that helped me.
Yeah.
So again, to the ownership, if you make a clear plan, you set goals for yourself. I did it in 16 years. That's the reason why I'm really angry when a guy come to me, he said, "I want to be full-time in football in 2 years."
Yeah.
Then he said, "Go away. Or someone else, you can't do it at PSV." Because you need a clear pathway in your ownership. And I said to you, it's my pathway, it helped me. But ownership is that you prefer what you want to do to reach something. And that goals for everything is different. So that's the reason why we like ownership. So we work with the book for the younger ages, developing book, IDP, so individual development plan.
Yeah.
And they can, after a game, they have an evaluation of they reflect themselves by the book. But there's also a pathway in that book. So you see Cody Gakpo when he was 7, he came to the academy, and now he's the best player in Holland. So which steps did he make it to the first team? So it's sort of a pathway, or sort of stepping stones model.
Yeah.
So you go one stone forward, but you have to go 2 back to make one forward again.
Yeah.
So we create that pathway in our books, and the individual development plan instead of ownership. And ownership continues every time. Every year starts over and over again.
Every day.
Every day. But if you make a plan for a week to win a match, or you make a plan for 4 years to reach something,
Yeah,
as
it's
an
completely
individual,
different. Yeah,
it's totally different.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's also, is it also focused on on what you as a person can influence and what you can literally do, and maybe a circle of influence and a circle that is out of your influence?
Yeah, both. But it's also sometimes to help yourself. If you feel sad, if you feel down, and you open your book and you see your pathway, you think, I want to be at the first team. I want to play in the stadium when I was 16 years old, and I want to play at Anfield when I'm 24. And he sees all the pictures of the big stadiums. It helps you to keep motivating if you're a little bit down. So sometimes it helps you to motivate to do more because you made the plan. Sometimes you go one step back to make one forward, and so the books help you. So, and the best part of ownership is that you can choose mentors to help you, to guide you through that process. And I think the biggest problem in football is you have one coach for 1 year, and if the coach doesn't like you, you're ruined for that year. But if you don't like the coach, it's the same.
True.
But if you can choose your own mentor, you can choose your own mentors to help you. That's so good for your developing. And what we do in football, you have a coach for 1 year, and then you have a stubborn coach a year later, and he does exactly the opposite. But it's an ongoing process, not for 1 year, but maybe for 3 or 4 years. So that's the reason why I like that. I'm still mentoring guys from 13 years old, what I've done for the last 2 years, and I can still help them in their developing because we have a good relationship. So why quit that process because they have a new coach?
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Okay, so that's where it relates to ownership again, or sorry, to mentorship again, and also. I think it's also interesting how it relates to dedication, because yes, I took 16 years to get a professional coach, and you wanted to do it in 2 years. What kind of dedication is that? So yeah, that's very. So it's all intertwined. And for the last one, and I think that's you said yesterday, that's the reason why people get here, which is their super strength or their ability, which they stand out with. Can you share a little bit about that, because it's a term I hear a lot. Yeah. So you hear people or coaches are talking about this is a weapon. Yeah. Ajax is talking about the Cruyff quality or whatever. Everybody, and this sounds a little bit the same. But can you explain the concept?
Yeah, my problem in football is that we look to what they can't, what people can't. So coaches and players. But if you just focus on what's your super strength, that motivates you to help you.
I like the word, super strength.
Yeah,
it's a cool word.
Yeah, it's a really cool word. But we just focus on what you can't. So if you go to the first team and you show what you can, you get so motivated. So like 2 weeks ago, there were 3 18 players that went to the first team for a session, and he had a meeting before, and I told them, "What are you afraid of?" And they were all afraid of what they can't. And then we do the opposite. What you can is to make a block tackle. So if you are afraid of Cody Gakpo, that you get injured when you make a tackle, you're always too late. But if you want to win the ball and to show this a block tackle, that's your super strength. But if we believe that the super strength is dribbling, scoring goals, you can't reach it when you play with the first team. But your super strength is have a block tackle. And so there was a point when he trained the first team and they made a block tackle, and everybody was happy and was cheering, well done. And then he thought, whoa, the coach was right 2 hours ago, but they like it. That's my super strength. So keep going by hard working. And the super strength with the other one is dribbling and scoring some goals. So why are you afraid of that I lose the ball? So if you're afraid of losing the ball, you will lose them.
Yeah.
If you're not afraid, so I said the first part is dribbling, scoring. And I think after 12 minutes, it was unbelievable. He shot from 25 minutes and he scored a goal. And all the players were so happy for him. And he was so happy. So he was so confident. So he did more. So if you focus on things where you're good at, so just like in life, if I'd focus myself on what I don't good at, we were not here now at the moment. Yeah. And that's the reason why everybody's laughing about me. And at this moment, he isn't the best player anymore. But for 2 years ago, Jordan Henderson is the best player in the world.
Yeah.
And if I tell now everybody is, he's a crazy coach. But if I tell him why, because he's not the best football player. His outstanding adaptability is work hard, show him some leadership, and pass the ball to someone with a Liverpool shirt. And he done that for the last 12 years old, but he knows what he's really good at.
Yeah.
But he also knows I can't dribble. So he never makes a dribble. He's always in a position that he has plenty of time to make the right choice. He's always in the small side. He always has the same mistakes because he's not really good at it. And he won all the prizes in the world from the last 5 years, every prize.
Yeah.
And he was captain. He lifted the trophy every time. And in my opinion, that's the perfect example of dedication, but also with outstanding ability. Because know what you're good at and do it. What you're not good at, just focus on things that you want to improve. And that's the things where you're really good at. And then you still improve in things that you're not really good at, because that's the reason why we as coaches build exercises to help them in things they're not good at.
Yeah.
But if you put the focus on the things that you're good at, you also have a pleasant session.
Yeah.
Because that's your focus as a coach. Implicit way of learning.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the attitude is very interesting, your approach. If you would say, okay, you have to shoot a penalty, and if you start looking at the keeper, you know where the ball will end, in the hands of the keeper or the goalkeeper. And if you are looking towards the corner, the top corner, that's where you want to put the ball. It's more likely that the ball will go there. Yeah. Okay, you have to still have to have the technique and the skills, whatever. But yeah, it's a great, and it's a really important process for players that they know, because they get told it's almost automatically, because if you have an exam at school, you score 99%, everybody's focused on that one thing. Why didn't you have a 10, or why didn't you have 100%, or everything is focused on that thing that you're not doing right.
But it's the same, it's the opposite way. You have kids who are so demanding that they want to be the best on school, and then we said no, focus on football, not on school. So they are unhappy. They have the opposite way. So they are really unhappy if you score 99 out of 100, like you mentioned. And if you don't know that player and you don't help him to make it 100 out of 100, he's frustrating.
Yeah.
So that's the opposite way. Some kids want to be always the best, and let them show the best and be really hard on him when he isn't the best, because that's the way he learns.
Yeah.
So it's all based on each individual. So
True.
you can't make a clear pathway for anyone, because it's totally opposite for everybody.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, and you also told me, okay, for you as a coach, there's also some kind of super strength, but again, it's really important that you know what your qualities are.
Yeah, we went to Liverpool and we spoke with Jurgen Klopp, and that's the best advice ever. And maybe that's the problem now. He said, every year I want 1 or 2 new coaches to help me as a coach to become a better manager, because I have to surround myself by knowledge. So how more knowledge is around me is better for every player, but also for myself. But now you have some coaches, they think I can do everything because I have knowledge of everything, but you can't. So you have your own outstanding ability. So that what I like is, I'm a coach. If I teach to do a technical sessions, everybody's going to laugh, because that's really a bad example.
2 left feet or 2 right ones.
Yeah, maybe 4. So then I asked Colin, for example, and he does the sessions.
If you look at Colin, it's crazy.
That's
skills.
cool.
Yeah.
But he's more focused on technical, less on tactical stuff. So when a 13 player from Colin now, he needs something with tactical, go to Joop, because he has more knowledge in tactical.
Yeah.
So if you know your own super strength, but you know the super strength of your people around you, then you can help everybody, because the knowledge is in your home, at your academy.
Yeah.
So that's the best advice what we need. And what your preference as a coach is that you have people around you who are the same as you are, because that's easy for you. If you say we go to play 4-2-3 and the guy next to you says, yeah, it's cool, 4-2-3, well, that's really cool.
There's no resistance.
There's no resistance. So that's the reason why you have to surround opposite people around you to be a better coach. But you have to be really strong. But if you can't handle those people around you, you get frustrated by yourself.
Yeah.
But if you are a good manager and you ask questions at one point, and at the other point you say, no, stop arguing, we do it that way, then you have a perfect example, a perfect surrounding to show your own super strength, but also to get help from others that they have super strength that you don't have.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting pathway for a coach, because it's not something you know from day one. You have to learn it, and then you have to become in positions that you fail, And of course, you need to improve them. But sometimes you have to realize, okay, I cannot improve this. I just need to focus on other stuff. And this is not something. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's related, but you cannot learn this in 2 years. Like the guys, I want to be a professional coach in 2 years. This takes time. And there's becoming a good coach is like becoming a good driver. You have to do it a lot of times just to learn what works, what doesn't work. And I think especially for young coaches, and I've been exactly the same young coach as well. You step on the pitch. I had some natural leadership, so things go relatively easy. So there's not a lot of resistance in your environment. And then later on, you discover when the results are down or whatever, things are not going the way you want. That's when you really, really improve, and that's when you really learn what you can do and what you need around you.
Yeah, that's how you learn by yourself. But if you show your weaknesses to everybody, they see your qualities.
That's also true.
And if you show your weaknesses and you convince them to help me to be a better, because they can use their super strength to compensate your weaknesses, then that's the point. And if you have stubborn coaches who are 30 years old, if they don't show your weaknesses, you're going to compensate, and everybody sees you're not really good at it. But you don't want to tell them because you're so stubborn, you're so.
But this is not easy, because let's go to my perspective again. I don't know if you've been there, but you feel, and when you were there with players, especially in high performance and the ego-focused surroundings in football, that you cannot fail. You have to be good at everything.
But it starts with independency, because if you want to sign a new contract and you think the only thing that I need to have a new contract is good results on Saturday, you're all focused on good results on Saturday. So if you don't have it, you are unmotivated because you don't get the result. So you get angry on parents, on kids, on sessions if they don't learn from you, if they don't listen to you. But if you're independent and you think, if I have a good relationship with my players and I help the individual, then you get good results, and then your focus is independent, and then you get the result that you want. So as a coach, you have to be independent in every situation that you have, but you can do it after, like I am. I think since 2 years I'm independent now.
Yeah.
I can make my own results by not thinking what happens when we fail, when I fail.
Yeah.
So then you are independent, and hopefully for young coaches, if you're 20, 24 or 22, and you have a surrounding on an academy where people don't judge you on your result on Saturday, that's so cool. Because I was at Venlo with the 17 on the 17, and I was the first one year I have to win because I thought there were like 20,000 people watch my game every Saturday, but the result was there were only 20, and all our all parents, and then I thought I have to fight with every parent. But Roger Bonga, as you spoke with him, after I think 16 months, we sat with angry parents, and he told the parents, if you don't like Joop as a coach, or if you don't support him in his philosophy, in the way we work, you don't have confidence in me as head of youth academy. You don't have a good feeling about the whole club, and then you have to go.
Yeah.
And since that moment, I thought, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Finally, there is a head of youth academy who helps me, so I can be independent, because it's not based on the result, but it's based on the individual developing. So when I came to PSV as a head of the foundation, I thought, I'm going to help them. I can help every coach. If you don't like my coach, you don't like me. So I did the same like Roger did it with me, because I felt that moment, oh, finally someone helps me.
Yeah.
And of course, sometimes the parent is right or the kid is right, but I don't tell it, because when you have a conversation, but afterwards I become really crazy on the coach, but not with the parent, not with the kid.
Yeah, you always protect the team, your team in this case, and then, but inside there can be when the door is closed, there can be friction for sure.
Of course. Then we fight.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I think we went over everything, and like I'm saying now for the 17th time, everything is intertwined. But we had the super strength. We ended with the super strength. We started with dedication, adaptability, which is in everything.
Yeah.
Mentorship was, I really like the example with older players guiding younger players. But you are also a mentor for your coaches, which is pretty clear. And taking ownership, which is also again in every step, literally in every step and in every part.
I'm quite honored that those are the 5 elements in the youth academy that we have now. From the 18s till the 9s, it's a clear philosophy on those elements, because we believe that helps the individual player to reach the first team. And yeah, that's the reason why we have a surrounding at the academy.
Yeah.
Those 5 pillars of 5 elements. And I think if you talk with every coach at PSV, you can have the same conversation like what we have now at the moment, because everybody had his own pathway with his own weaknesses and with his own strengths. And
not everybody worked in the bar. You worked in the bar,
No,
but everybody has his own typical pathway.
Hopefully,
yeah, great.
hopefully.
Yeah, great. Okay, Joop, it was great to have you. Maybe we should do this like every year or something.
Yeah, no problem.
And then we're episode 110. We'll see you back.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, Joop, thank you very much.
Thank you.